Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about how we can store files on IPFS and store the corresponding hash on the blockchain network. Previously, I made a video using Web3 storage, but it's not free now. I mean, it can be free, but you have to provide the credit card information, which is not optimal. So I look for some alternatives for that. Either you can run your own IPFS node using Docker maybe, or install it on your computer and just run it, or maybe we can find a third party provider just like Web3 storage. So basically I found, and it's Pinata Cloud. They provide you an IPFS node, and using their API key, you upload the data on Pinata IPFS, and maybe store the corresponding hash on the blockchain network. So application works like this. It's just like the previous one. I've written everything in React. So you browse something. Let's say I'm gonna put MetaMask Fox logo, and I submit it. So your data is stored in the IPFS and it has returned the IPFS hash, and now we are storing this IPFS hash in the smart contract. So let's wait for some time. The smart contract is quite simple, like it's storing a string and it is retrieving a string. You can modify the smart contract based on what you want to do. For example, if you want to store specific files for specific blockchain accounts, you can always modify the smart contract. So now the IPFS hash is stored in the smart contract. We can retrieve it, and we got this IPFS hash. So we can check if something is so basically, so this is the Solidity file I tried before. uh, so we can test it, and you see we have this, for different hash we have different picture. So yeah, so this app is all about how to store this IPFS hash on Pinata Cloud, and again how to retrieve your data or to see the data like this. So let's start. So yeah, so now we will start with we will create a React application. So for that we just need npx create React app, and let's call it IPFS storage. Okay, so it's gonna take some time. So first I'm setting up this development environment. Later I will go to this Pinata Cloud IPFS, and I'm gonna generate some API keys, JWT tokens, and some the gateway where we are going to communicate to store and retrieve the files. That is one thing. Another thing is, it's totally free. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how you can do that. So let's first go to IPFS storage, do npm install ethers add 5.7.1. That's the version I use. That's compatible, and you also need to install Pinata. So npm install ethers and Pinata. So let's wait for it. Before that, you need to enter in this folder, okay, IPFS storage. So do that. So I think it's done, so we can simply use code. We can open it here. I'm gonna bring it here from my another screen. I'm gonna hide it, and yeah. So now we have everything. So first we are going to create a config file. Let me config.js. In this config file we are going to put our tokens. So let's write this Pinata SDK. Okay, from Pinata. Okay, sorry. And then we are going to export const Pinata is equals to new Pinata SDK. So we are in this constructor, we're gonna pass uh, Pinata JWT. Okay, that is something, and Pinata gateway. Okay, so that is something. Yeah. And how do we get that? So let's go to Pinata Cloud. Okay, so we are here. um, so now you need to type Pinata Cloud on Google, and on the first link you click on the first link. It will ask you to go to, login. I have already logged in, I have already created an account, but you are going to create an account on this website. um, yeah, so once you have created this account, you will see a page like this. You will go to API keys, you will create a new key, you will select admin, you name anything, any random thing. So the main thing is you need to copy this JWT and paste it here. That is one thing. Okay, and for the gateway, you go here. You go here to the gateway, you copy this link, a dedicated gateway where which you are going to use to interact with the IPFS node by Pinata. So you're gonna go here and paste it here. Okay, so that is the thing you can do. So now our configuration is finished, and we have imported this Pinata from this config.js, and we have imported some files. So we will start writing code from here. Before that, I would like to go here on Remix. I'm gonna remove all this and I will write the code again. Um so first I'm gonna write spdx dash license dash identifier, and it's an MIT license. That's okay. Then we will start with pragma solidity, and the version is greater than 0.8.0, and our contract name is IPFS. In the contract we will have just a simple string IPFS hash. We are going to use that string to store the IPFS, and we need a getter and setter function. So we need a setter function and getter function. Okay, this is a very simple smart contract. So if you are looking for something complex, maybe I will create a video in future, but for now this is how thing works. You can again go and create a smart contract based on your specific use case, but the things will remain the same. IPFS hash. So you are going to take the IPFS hash and store it in this variable IPFS hash, and this is hash. Okay, so this is a getter function, and the setter function will be similar, but we are not gonna pass anything in the argument. We're gonna change the name get, and here we're not gonna pass anything. In fact, we are going to return it. So the function will be like public view returns, and it's gonna return string memory, and it's gonna return IPFS. It's gonna return IPFS hash. So now our smart contract is completed. So we can simply go and upload it using MetaMask, using injected Web3 provider. So it's gonna ask, okay. So here is our. In the meantime, I will simply copy and paste this app.css here. So I don't really like writing that. So our contract is almost uploaded. So we need to create a few variable. Const contract address is equals to something like this, and const contract API. Remember, we need these two things to communicate with the smart contract, because you are telling JavaScript that okay, there is this contract, the address is this, and this is the API I need to communicate with this contract. Okay, and for the ABI you simply go to this compiler, you copy this ABI and paste it here, and you just simply remove it. Okay, at this point we are Done almost. So now let's start writing our application. So at this point, we just created a smart contract and we just put this address and ABI here. So to start an application, we need to store three things: the file we have selected from the front end, the IPFS hash we have stored in the IPFS, and the stored IPFS hash that is stored in the blockchain network. So we need to retrieve it. So we need to store all these three variables simultaneously. So we need to use a use state, selected file, set selected file is equals to use. So at this point the file is null, so we're gonna put null, and then we're gonna create IPFS hash, set IPFS hash is equals to use state. It's an empty string for now. Okay, and finally we have stored hash and set stored hash is equals to use state. Again it's empty. So yeah, we have these three things here. Okay, um, so it's still giving error, but that's okay. So so we can start from here. um, so yeah, so let's create a div. Okay, so that is our div, and I'm gonna say class name app dash container. Okay, and then I'm gonna create a new div, and the name of this div is upload dash, no, class name upload dash section. So in this div, first of all, I'm gonna create a label, uh, choose file, and it should have a class name of um, form dash label. Okay, label. And once we have created this label choose file, we need to create an input. Okay, in this input, the type of this input is file, because if you remember I showed you at the start of this video, we are going to take a file on change. So let's say you select a file once and you change it, so we need to call this function change handler. I'm going to explain this later. um, and it should be, I'm gonna explain this change handler. Let me write this first. Class name is equals to its file dash input. And finally, once you have selected a file, you need a button to upload it. So we have this button. The class name of this button is uh, submit dash button, and it should say submit. And another thing is, once you click on it, what happens? On click, it should call handle submission. So once you have selected a file and you click on this submit button, it should upload it on IPFS. Okay, so that's what you need to do right now. For now we have done this, so let's write this handler first. Okay, so our handler is like this. uh, so const change handler is an async function. No, it's basically it's gonna take an event and it's gonna say um, set selected file to event dot target dot files and 0. So, and let's create this handle submission function too. So this handler, I'm sorry, I'm gonna explain what it does. So let's first create this handle submission. Const handle submission is going to be an async function, and it's not gonna take anything. So it will take const response is equals to await, So once you, okay, so now before this I'm gonna explain. Okay, so now npm start is there. Okay, so here if you see I have created this label choose file, so you can see choose file here. This is an input where we can select and we can get an input from here. And then this button, basically if you call it, it's gonna call handle submission. So once you select, let's say, and you select ethereum logo png, okay, seek logo or anything, so now this change handler will be called and this file will be selected as this. Now let's say I click on browse again and I select React logo. So now it's gonna trigger this change handler again, and instead of Ethereum logo, it's gonna select React logo. So the whole idea is whenever you click on this and you select some file, this change handler will be called and your file will be selected here. Okay, so yeah, that was the point. So now to handle the submission, we simply need, so once we have selected the file, we need to upload on pinata. So how do you do that? Const response is equals to await pinata dot cloud, no, pinata dot upload dot file, and we gonna pass this as selected file. Okay, so this selected file is, so now we will create IPFS hash is equals to, so now this response is an object and we are going to take IPFS hash, so this property of this object, and we will simply set IPFS hash to IPFS hash. Okay, so we have done this. So it's gonna store the file in pinata, it's gonna get the IPFS hash and it store it here in the IPFS hash. Okay, now in order to use it, we can simply create something like this. So once you click on submit, your IPFS hash should show here, right? So for that, we can do something like this. So we say if we have IPFS hash and so if we have an IPFS hash, we can simply create a div. So we will simply create a div. Oh no, it's a problem. We will simply create a div here and we will say a class name of result section, and in this div we will simply create a p. Okay, in this p we will say IPFS hash and we will simply pass IPFS hash. Okay, so now yeah, so let's try submit it. Yeah, so now you can see the IPFS hash here. So at this point we created this type file, we created this button. If you call this button, if you click on this button, it's gonna call handle submission and it's gonna submit the file to pinata cloud. So now that is one thing. Okay, let's move it above, let's move it here. So now that is one thing. Now we need to, store it on the blockchain network. So let's create a function await. So the name of this function is, just let me see just for the clarity. So store hash on blockchain and it's gonna take IPFS hash. Okay, so you are gonna pass this IPFS hash and this function will be called. So that is a simple function, store hash on blockchain, and it's an async function and it's gonna take hash and it's gonna do something like this. So again, first of all, it's gonna create const provider is equals to new ethers dot providers dot web3 provider window dot ethereum. At this point you should remember this because whenever you want to connect with metamask, you need to do that. Const signer is equals to provider dot get signer. Okay, once you have the signer, you need to create a contract address, sorry, contract instance. You gonna create new ethers dot contract and you're gonna pass contract address, contract ABI, and signer who is going to communicate with the contract. You are writing something on the blockchain, right? So you need to create a transaction. Const transaction is equals to await contract dot. Okay, so let's see what was the function on remix. So in order to set IPFS hash, we need to use this function which takes IPFS hash as an input. So let's call this here, and here we will simply pass hash. Okay, and we will say await tx dot wait. Okay, so we will wait for the transaction to be completed. So what we are doing is, as we click on this submit button, um, this submit button, first it's gonna upload the IPFS hash on Pinata, then it's gonna call store hash on blockchain. So we will again store everything on the blockchain network. But so let's say things are stored here, now we need to retrieve it, so we need a button here, right? So for that we can do something, exactly something like this. So and we need to yeah, so let's do this first. We need a button. Class name retrieve that section, and basically this div is gonna say we gonna create a button. Okay, so the button has a class name of retrieve button, and if you click on button it should retrieve something from the blockchain network, right? So it's gonna retrieve hash from blockchain. So this is the function that is going to run if you click on this button. Okay, and let's say we call this function retrieve stored hash. Okay, so now we have not implemented this function, so let's simply go and copy and paste. No, so I'm not gonna copy. Const retrieve hash from blockchain. Again, it's an async function, it's not gonna take anything in the argument, and we will copy and paste the same thing here. Okay, provider is fine, signer is fine, contract is fine, but we are not going to write something, we're going to read something. Okay, and the read function has no input, and we can say stored hash. And in order to, like, we can use this set stored hash. Okay, so we can use set stored. So we are retrieving the hash from the blockchain and we are just storing it. Okay, so stored hash, so we're going to pass the stored hash. At this point we have this button here, and if we click on this we will get the hash, right? Yeah, we will get the hash, but we need to print it here, right? So in order to print it here we simply do something like this, just like this. Yeah, just like this, or maybe write it again. So this time we are going to use stored hash. So if there is a stored hash value, we simply create a paragraph and we say stored IPFS hash, and we simply say pass stored hash. Okay, so now things should work. So let's say we select this file, we select ethereum.logo, we submit. So the IPFS hash is uh, created because the data is on the Pinata cloud. So we confirm. So let's wait for the transaction to be written on the blockchain network. At this point I'm going to explain things. Okay, so we are here, so we selected the file, we click on submit handle submission button. So it went to handle submission, it uploaded the data on IPFS hash, sorry, on this Pinata cloud, and we got the IPFS hash. So as soon as we get the IPFS hash, it's printed there on the front end. Okay, and then there is this function store hash on blockchain. So this function was called and you connected with MetaMask and you store it. Okay, and this transaction has been done, so now it's stored on the blockchain. So for to retrieve that, simply, I think there is an error. Oh, what's the error? Oh, start its name. Okay, I think there is an error here, but that's okay, not a problem. I don't know. Let's wait for it. Stored hash is assigned a value but never used. Ah, okay. I think this is the problem now. Yeah, okay. So now we can see that. So there was a problem with variable. So once we have clicked on it, then we have this function like retrieve stored hash. This, so as we click on this, we go to this function retrieve hash from blockchain. We again connect to the smart contract and we call the get IPFS hash function, and we simply uh, present it here, okay, on the front end. So that was a very basic application of how you can create this type of application. So if you like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video and share it with your friends. So basically this is an alternative to Web3 storage, which is now not free. You need to put your credit card information, and I don't think so now you need that because you can use Pinata Cloud. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.